Hi everybody, this is part 2 of the response to an outbreak in schools. I want to share a document with you that you can find most easily on the FAQ page. So if you just go to the FAQ, Uintah's COVID plan, and scroll down to response to an outbreak. This document has some procedures from the superintendent's communication document, which talks about our response. Should the governor make the change? Should the local board make a change? Or should the superintendent determine that we need to make a change in our 100%, 50%, 25%, or home-based learning? At the bottom of this talks about the response procedures for potential cases and outbreaks. My first video showed you the definition of what an outbreak is and what it isn't, and how we respond in different cases. This just outlines a checklist of how we will respond if there is a case, a positive case, verified in the school. So there's going to be a two-way communication. As soon as a school finds or learns of a positive case, if a parent calls you, contact me, and then I will notify Tri-County Health, or Tri-County Health will be contacting me, and I will be contacting you. So we just aren't sure. We might learn about it first. Tri-County Health might learn about it first. Whoever learns about it first is going to share with the other entity. I will inform the superintendent and the principal affected if you don't already know. And the superintendent will call the board members to make sure they're aware. And we have a committee that will get together. It includes the directors, our PIO, Jeff Lysick, a member of Tri-County Health, and our local Dr. Breitenbach, who's on that committee. And we'll review the situation. And with the information that I shared in the earlier video, based on whether there's one case or two tied together by time, we'll recommend a course of action based on those guidelines, whether it's a cohort quarantine or maybe just sending that one kid home. But we will make that determination within that committee. We'll get that information to Tri-County through their member that's on that team and do some contact tracing as necessary. Teachers are going to be a huge part of that. If they have a positive kiddo in their classroom, it's really going to be important that we know who had more than 15 minutes and closer than 6 foot contact with that individual. So if we can't determine that, it may mean that the whole class has to be quarantined. So the more information we can get from the teacher, the better. The school will contact students who were possibly exposed, if any of them need to quarantine for the 14 days, or if we may contact that whole class just to let them know there's been a positive case in that class. We don't believe their student had been exposed. They can still come to school. Of course, it will be the parent's choice. There's a letter that will be sent home to follow up with any of the kiddos that need to go home and quarantine with the instructions. And if they are quarantining based on Tri-County contact tracing or the information they get from us for contact tracing, it'll give them that information, and they won't be able to come back to school until they've met the requirements of the quarantine, and part of that may be released by Tri-County Health to return to school, and then Tri-County will communicate that with the schools when they are allowed to come back. Superintendent will be involved in all of this, reviewing, revising, and approving the action. And then we'll make every effort to communicate any knowledge of a confirmed case within 24 hours, so that if we have to keep a whole class at home, parents know that before the day starts the next day, in order to know how to respond and what their choices are. This last part is just kind of a checklist of who is going to communicate with whom. Jeff Lysick will contact the radio and Facebook, take care of all of that. Superintendent will take care of USD employees as needed, may not need to always involve everyone. And then the rest of the stakeholders that we'll need to consider, especially if we do a whole school shutdown or a whole district shutdown. Then the Safe School Committee that we talked about earlier will reconvene within 48 hours to review and make some changes.